is among the most serious of offences a man can commit under the laws of House Targaryen during their time upon the Iron Throne. The kind of crime where punishment is often reflected in its severity. To attack the king meant forfeiting your own life and that of those involved in your crime. The treason can be against the sovereign, or the realm, or the kingdom as a whole, including the likes of rebellions, regicide, oath-breaking and espionage. Rogar Baratheon, in his final days as Hand of the King, plotted and committed several treasons against King Jaehaerys and arguably the realm itself. The punishment for treason is death, usually by public execution. Traitors may instead be pardoned in exchange for hostages, to ensure loyalty, or by agreeing to take the black and join the Night's Watch. Like oath-breaking, the nature of treason is not an absolute one, and is subject to political machinations. It can often depend on whether said treason is successful. While a defeated rebel will be condemned and executed as a traitor, a victorious one will be in power and will merely receive the title usurper. Thus, this is how things stood for Lord Rogar Baratheon as he waited in Storm's End, knowing the day would soon be coming, where he would have to face the consequences of the crimes he had committed. But Rogar's actions reflected him as a man. He did not try and fight. He did not run or hide. With dignity, he accepted what was to come. All I did, all I tried to do, was for the good of the realm and the Iron Throne. Rogar Baratheon's will and confession. Fire and blood, a surfeit of rulers. Rogar Baratheon knew his time was short, that he would be summoned to King's Landing by Jaehaerys for his crimes. The arrival of that very letter from the king drove a wedge between Lord Rogar and his brothers. Sir Boros, usually the fiercest and quickest to anger among them, was in this case the voice of caution. Do as he commands, and the boy will have your head, he warned. Better to take the black. The wool will have you. Garen and Ronald, the youngest brothers, argued the opposite, urging defiance. Storm's End, they insisted, was as strong as any fortress in the realm. If Jaehaerys wanted Rogar dead, let him come and claim him himself. Rogar only laughed at such foolish talk. Strong, he replied. Harrenhal was strong. No, I will go to Jaehaerys and speak my piece. If I choose the wall after, he will not refuse me. By morning, he had set out to King's Landing with only 6 of his oldest and most trusted knights, men whom he had known since boyhood. The king received him upon the Iron Throne, crowned and in full authority. His new small council, some of whom had sat with Rogar during the regency, stood in attendance as well. Sir Joffrey Doggett and Sir Lawrence Roxton of the Kingsguard kept their watch below, clad in white cloaks and gleaming scale. As Rogar crossed the chamber, his footsteps rang loudly in the silence. Grand Maester Bennifer later wrote that the king, well aware of Rogar's fierce pride, had deliberately cleared the court, unwilling to force him into a public display of submission. Most expected a fierce fight from Rogar, but humble himself he did. The Lord of Storm's End fell to one knee, bowed his head, and laid his sword at the base of the throne. Your Grace, he began, I am here as you commanded. Do with me what you will. I ask only that you spare my brothers and House Baratheon. All I did for the good of the realm, as you saw it. Jaehaerys raised a hand to silence Rogar before he could say further. I know what you did, and what you said, and what you planned. I believe you when you say you meant no harm to my person or to my queen, my wife, and you are not wrong. I would make a splendid maester, but I hope to make an even better king. Some men say that we are now enemies. I would sooner think of us as friends who disagreed. When my mother came to you seeking refuge, you took us in, at great risk to yourself. You could have easily clasped us in chains and made a gift of us to my uncle. Instead, you swore your sword to me and called your banners. I have not forgotten. Words are wind, Jaehaerys went on. Your lordship, my dear friend, spoke of treason, but committed none. You wished to undo my marriage, but you could not do so. You suggested placing Arya upon the Iron Throne in my place, but here I sit. You did send your brother to remove my niece Rhaella from her mother house, true, but for what purpose? Perhaps you only wish to have her for a ward, lacking any children of your own. Treasonous actions deserve punishment. Foolish words are another matter. If you truly desire to go to the wall, I will not stop you. The Night's Watch needs men as strong as you. But I would sooner you remain here in my service. I would not sit upon this throne if not for you. And all the realm knows that. And I still have need of you. The realm has need of you. When the dragon died and my father donned the crown, he was beset on all sides by would-be kings and rebel lords. The same may befall me. And for that reason, to test my resolve, my will, my strength, my mother believes the godly men throughout the realm will rise against me when my marriage is made known. May perhaps so. To meet these tests, I need good men around me, warriors willing to fight for me, to die for me, and for my queen, if need be. Are you such a man? Lord Rogar, thunderstruck at the king's word, looked up and said, I am, your grace, in a voice thick with emotion. Then I pardon your offences, King Jaehaerys said, but there will be some conditions. His voice grew stern as he listened to them. You will never speak another word against me or my queen. From this day forth you shall be her loudest champion, and suffer no word to be spoken against her in your presence. Furthermore, I cannot and will not suffer my mother to be disrespected. She will return with you to Storm's End, where you will live as husband and wife once again. In word and deed you will show her only honour and courtesy. Can you abide by these conditions? Gladly, said Rogar. Might I ask, what of Oren? That gave the king pause. I shall command Lord Hightower to free your brother Sir Oren and the men who went with him to Oldtown, the king said. But I cannot allow them to go unpunished. The wall is forever, so instead I sentence them to 10 years of exile. They can sell their swords in the disputed lands, or sail to Karth to make their fortunes. It matters not to me. If they survive and commit no further crimes, in 10 years, they can come home. Are we agreed? We are, Rogar responded. Your grace is more than just. Then he asked if the king would require hostages of him, as a surety of his future loyalty. 3 of his brothers had young children who could be sent to court, he pointed out. This again gave the king pause. In answer, Jaehaerys descended the Iron Throne and bade that Lord Rogar follow him. Without a word, the young king led his lordship from the hall to the inner ward of the Red Keep, where his dragon Vermithor the Bronze Fury was being fed. A bull had been slaughtered for his morning meal, and it lay upon the stones, charred and smoking, for dragons always burnt their meat before consuming it. It is a poor king who wages battle against his own lords and leaves his own kingdom burned, bloodied, and strewn with corpses. His grace was a wiser man than that. The writings of Bath on King Jaehaerys, Fire and Blood, Jaehaerys and Alysanne, their triumphs and tragedies. Vermithor the Bronze Fury was feasting on the flesh of his meal, tearing loose great chunks of meat with each bite. But when the king approached, with Lord Rogar, the dragon raised his head and gazed at them, with eyes like pools of molten bronze. He grows larger every day, Jaehaerys said as he scratched the great worm under his jaw. Next came a veiled threat. Keep your nieces and nephews, my lord. Why would I need hostages? I have your word, and that is all I require. But Grand Maester Benefer heard the words he did not speak. Every man and maid and child in the Stormlands is my hostage, whilst I ride him. His grace said without saying, Benefer wrote in his court records, and Rogar heard him plain for the pale expression across his stern face. Thus was the peace made between the young king and his former hand, and sealed that night by a feast in the great hall, where Lord Rogar sat beside his wife Queen Alyssa, man and wife once more, and raised a toast to the health of Queen Alysanne, pledging her his love and loyalty before all of the assembled lords and ladies. 4 days later, when Lord Rogar departed to return to Storm's End, Queen Alyssa went with him, escorted by Sir Pate the Woodcock and 100 men-at-arms to see them safe through the Kingswood.